welcome Dr. Howard Wasdin. Howard, thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. You know, wow, every time they read that thing, I don't know if I'm brave or just too dumb to know when to stop. You think after getting shot the first time, the second time, by the third time, I just said, okay, just stop, but I didn't. So I still don't know. There's a thin line there between bravery and just being too dumb to stop. Anyhow, it's very rarely that I get a chance to speak to like-minded people. The difference in this room from most organizations I speak to is that you guys also serve. So it's an honor to be here to speak to all of you. And I'd like to do my routine thing I always do. Would all the veterans in the house please stand up? Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I want to draw a few parallels today between being on any elite team, as a Navy SEAL Team 6 sniper, and as a really successful and elite organization like Touchstone Energy. There's some parallels there that you may or may not realize. And why they make a big deal about the best-selling books and all that kind of good stuff, you really don't think that you've made it to the top until you get this phone call. I'm sitting in my office one day, and my agent from New York calls me up, and he's like, Howard, I've got Vin Diesel and Brad Pitt's agents on the phone, okay? Turns out it's actually Vin Diesel's sister. I said, well, what do they want? I'm in the middle of seeing patients here at my clinic. He's like, they are in a bidding war for your book to make a movie. And I'm like, oh my God, so what do I do? He's like, you don't do anything. We sit back and just go cha-ching and listen and see who bids the highest. So in the meantime, my wife's practice, she's a CPA. My wife Debbie's here with me. She is next door, so I'm hitting the intercom button going, hey, you got to get over here. You're not going to believe what's going on. We got Brad Pitt and Vin Diesel in a bidding war to play me in a movie. Well, after she was like, yeah, whatever. She comes over. We got the speakerphone on it. It's weird because we got United Artists Agency out in Los Angeles. We got my guy up in New York. We got him on the speakerphone, and they're going back and forth. Then they start with these numbers. And I was like, good gosh. After a little while, I'm like, yep, there's my new pickup truck, you know, all set. A little while later, I'm like, wow, there's that plane that I always wanted to buy for myself. So they keep going. And in the meantime, my wife looks at me, and she's really serious over my right shoulder. It doesn't matter who wins the bidding, you better go with Brad Pitt. So anyway, they keep going. We go back and forth. Vin Diesel will come in at a number. Then Brad Pitt at one point went way higher. And then Vin Diesel's sister comes back with a number. And I'm like, okay, told my agent, we will take that offer. So a couple days go by, and I realize my wife's not her usual chipper self with me. So anyway, I said, sweetheart, so, you know, is this about the Vin Diesel, Brad Pitt thing? She goes, well, you know, it's not a big thing to you. But if Brad Pitt was going to play you, I was going to see if I could play myself. So, true story. So I was in hot water for a couple of days. We got over it. Now, you listen to that story, and that's an American success story. That's a good American success story. What you don't know is the backstory to that. My earliest memory as a child, and this is why I get very few passes on people who have excuses. The first memory I have as a child, I was born to a 15-year-old single mother who worked as a waitress at a truck stop. The first memory I have is being pulled out of a bunk bed at about 4 or 5 years old and being slapped around by this truck driver and standing there in my pajamas, shivering and tasting the blood in my mouth. And I'm not trying to be graphic, but I can remember that like it was yesterday. So that's how my life started. Even worse, this man eventually adopted me, moved me to South Georgia, and I basically was a field hand and was abused my entire life until I got out of high school. The reason that didn't break me, and the reason that I give very few passes to people, is we live in the greatest country in the world. You have so many opportunities. You've got so many things that are in place to help you that I really have a hard time giving a pass. If you need help, reach out for it. I was lucky. My ROTC instructor, John Parker, pulled me aside one day. I mean, he could see the bruises. He knew what was going on. And he said, let me tell you, Howard, you can do anything you want to do. In America, as long as you're willing to put in hard work, educate yourself, lead, be led, you can do anything. And that changed my life. And that's why I like speaking to a group like this. You are literally changing people's lives. So you never know what good deed is going to change somebody. So speak to people, engage them. Don't keep them at arm's length. And here's the other thing. You don't have to be born in the United States to be successful or to enjoy success. I've got a friend who's here in the audience today. His name's Michael Castronovo. Michael came to America from Sicily, left after a tragedy he had over in Sicily involving his father. He came to the United States not speaking one word of English, to take a construction job that somebody had promised him on their visit over to Sicily. Michael packs up all his clothes into one suitcase, has $200 in change in his pocket, flies into New York, gets to New York, can't find the guy the first day, thinks about, do I spend my money on a hotel room or do I just save my money? So Michael put all the clothes on. It was cold. It was in the wintertime in New Jersey, actually. Puts all his clothes on to stay warm and sleeps on a park bench. And of course, you know, the next day, New York's finest or New Jersey's finest comes along, taps him on the boot, wakes him up off of that park bench and tells him to move along. They can't understand him. He can't understand them because of the language barrier. Luckily, the other responding officer shows up and this gentleman speaks Italian. Michael talks to him. He understands who he's looking for, realizes he's just not somebody hanging out on a park bench. And so then Michael got a job driving a bread truck, showing up to work at 3 a.m. every morning, not knowing how to read the road signs, had to write everything down to where he was delivering his bread. Got lost one time and ended up in Pennsylvania. So 3 a.m. until late that night. Then he got another job making pizza. So he had two incomes. And happy to be here because that's more money than he could make in Sicily. Glad to be here doing those two jobs. To fast forward, Michael got into the construction business, now owns his own company, is one of the most busy, successful people I know, employs a ton of people, and you will never meet a more appreciative, because he came here and assimilated and made us better. He didn't come here and try to change us. He made us a better country by his being here. And I want to thank Michael for being so patriotic and being a good friend to me. Michael, you stand up and say hello to the crowd. So you don't have to be born here to enjoy our benefits. You just got to be willing to work hard. Here's one thing we've forgotten, though. We've forgotten how blessed we are as a nation, and I really mean that. I look at the young people today and some of the older people today, and I hear how they talk about our country, and I hear everything, and it just breaks my heart. I want everybody to look at this picture. When I was in Mogadishu, Somalia, we were running this thing called a safe house. A safe house is a very dangerous thing. 4 of us SEALs go into this house in the middle of bad guy country, which is where this is. We run agents in and out of the house, gathering information, and then we act on that information to take out key militia, bad guys, etc. So one day, I see these 2 little girls that you see there. What this picture is the little girl that has no clothes on, holding the bucket, is pouring water over her 18-month-old sister's head. When I found these 2 girls, they were dying from drinking bad water, cholera. They were dying. So got them doctored up, showed them how to boil the water, and barring that, where to go get good water. The one thing everybody in this room and everybody who's ever said anything about how bad we got it as a country did this morning is go to a sink, turn on the water, and water came out. And if you don't think that's a big deal, come to go to Africa with me. I'll show you what a big deal that is. Just like turn on a light bulb. Of course, they had no electricity. So these little girls, the big girl would have to go about 3/4 of a mile, fill up 2 buckets, come back. 1 bucket was what they would drink for the day. The other one is what they would wash each other with. And that's a 4-year-old little girl. I got a 4-year-old granddaughter, and her idea of a bad time is if she can't get to the next level on her iPad game. So we've got it pretty good. And I never really realized how good we've got it, but you folks know we've got something new in the United States. I saw it on the TV the other day, and this is the honest to God truth. We've got it so good that we've got a dog poopy app. A dog poop app. This app you get on your phone, it tracks where somebody's walking your dog, and it will tell you when your dog has a bowel movement. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can't start my day, see my patients, feel totally good about my day until I know exactly when and where my dog took a poop. So that's how good we got it. You know, it's funny, but we got it that good. And then we still have people in this country that want to talk about how bad we have it. I'm sorry, we have it pretty good.